Detachment isn't cowardice. Disappearing isn't running away. It's realizing that your worth doesn't lie in someone else's hands. Hey folks, you've been misled. Society tells you that love, respect, and validation have to be earned by constantly giving, proving, and chasing. But what if I told you that real power doesn't come from chasing? It comes from stepping back. Yes, you heard me right. The real power is in detachment. When you pull back, when you stop begging for attention and start reclaiming your energy, that's when the game changes. Before you roll your eyes and think that sounds like giving up, let me hit you with a truth bomb. It's not about giving up. It's about waking up. It's about realizing that your value doesn't depend on someone else's recognition. It's about taking back control over your own life. You don't have to prove anything to anyone. The real power lies in your ability to stand still while the world spins around you. And here's the kicker. When you stop giving, stop chasing, and stop showing up for someone who's too busy taking you for granted, you force them to wake up. They don't get to decide your worth anymore. You do. Think about this. Imagine you're in a crowded room. Everyone's talking, everyone's trying to be seen. Then there's that one person who stands in the corner, quiet and calm, doing their own thing. They don't chase attention. They don't ask for anyone's approval. What happens? Everyone notices them. Suddenly, they're the most intriguing person in the room. Why? Because they're not playing the game. They're not desperate for anyone to notice them. And that's what makes them magnetic. When you stop chasing folks, you start attracting. That's the Stoic way. And no, it's not about being cold or heartless. It's about realizing that your worth is unshakable. Even when you disappear for a while, you're not running away. You're walking into your power. Now, before we dive into how you can start taking back control, do me a favor. Hit that like button and subscribe. You're here because you're ready for a change. You're ready to stop chasing after things and people who don't deserve your energy. Trust me, if you want to truly dominate your own life, this is where it starts. So hit that button and let's get started. All right, my friends, let's get real. The moment you start detaching, people will notice. They'll wonder what happened to you. Oh. They'll ask themselves, why aren't they reaching out? Did I lose them? Are they moving on? And that right there is the power of disappearing. It's like a balloon floating in the sky. When it's right in front of you, it's easy to ignore. But once it starts drifting away, suddenly it's all you can think about. But here's the truth. You don't have to chase after them to stay in their minds. In fact, by pulling back, you force them to wonder what's going on in your world. And that's when the dynamic flips. You stop being the one running after them and they start running after you. It's a hard pill to swallow, but once you realize it, you can never unsee it. So I want you to say this with me. I am the prize. Write it in the comments and let it sink in. Own it, because from this moment on, you're no longer the one chasing. You're the one everyone else will start chasing. And stay with me. This is just the beginning. The real shift comes when you realize that your energy is too valuable to be given away to just anyone. You stop waiting for validation. You stop hoping for recognition. And that's when you truly start dominating. So make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and let's continue this journey together. Because once you start living by the Stoic way, there's no going back. Number one, realize the illusion of control. You will never control how others feel about you. You can only control how you respond to their feelings. Let that sink in, my friends. The sooner you accept this truth, the sooner you'll start experiencing true freedom in your life. We're all caught up in the idea that if we just act the right way, say the right things, or do enough for someone, they'll feel a certain way about us. But here's the bitter truth. You can't control anyone else's feelings, and trying to is like trying to hold on to water with your bare hands. Think about this. Imagine you're standing in a pool of water and you're trying to catch every drop. You stretch your hands as wide as you can, but no matter what you do, some drops always slip through your fingers. The harder you try, the more water you lose. That's exactly what happens when you try to control someone's emotions. The more you chase after their approval, the more you push and pull to make them feel something, the more you're losing yourself in the process. It's an impossible game, and no matter how much energy you put into it, the result will always be the same. You end up exhausted and unfulfilled. So why do we keep playing this game? Why do we constantly try to manipulate how someone feels about us? It's a lie we've been fed from childhood. Society tells us that if we just give enough, do enough, and prove ourselves enough, people will see our worth. But that's a myth. It's an illusion that keeps us running in circles, chasing validation we'll never fully receive. You know the fear that creeps in when you stop giving that extra bit. When you start pulling back, right? What if they don't care anymore? What if they forget about me? What if they move on to someone else who gives them everything they want? Those thoughts are paralyzing. And let's face it, most of the time that fear comes from one thing: the belief that your worth is tied to how much someone else acknowledges it. But here's the truth. The moment you stop seeking their approval, you break free. You stop being a puppet on someone else's strings. You stop giving them the power to determine your happiness. It's only when you release the illusion of control that you start taking control of your own life, your own peace, and your own sense of self-worth. Imagine this. You're walking down a busy street and you see a crowd of people arguing over something meaningless. Maybe it's a misunderstanding, maybe it's just frustration, but no one is getting anywhere. What happens if you just walk away without even looking back? That argument doesn't control you anymore. It doesn't steal your energy. You don't need to engage with it to be part of it. In that moment, you take back your peace. You can keep walking with your head held high, knowing that you are no longer a prisoner to other people's emotional chaos. That's what happens when you stop trying to control how others feel about you. You stop being part of their emotional games. You step back and you regain your control. You choose not to be affected. It's a choice, and once you make that choice, you reclaim your power. But wait, you might be thinking, if I don't chase, if I don't try to prove myself, what happens then? Won't they forget about me? Won't I just be left behind? That's the lie we're fed. The lie that says chasing equals love. It doesn't. Chasing is desperation. It's the act of trying to hold on to something that's slipping away and that never ends well. Now I know this isn't easy. Letting go of control, releasing that need for constant validation, it's terrifying. You might feel exposed, vulnerable, even weak. Your mind will tell you that you're risking everything. But what if I told you that the moment you stop trying to control, the moment you stop fighting for their attention, that's when the real power shows up? It's like this. Think about a piece of art. The more you try to force someone to appreciate it, the less they seem to care. But when you step back and let the art speak for itself, suddenly people start paying attention. They begin to see the beauty you always saw. You don't have to chase them for their recognition. You allow them to come to you. That's the power of stepping back. That's the power of detachment. But there's a catch. Our deepest fears are hard to ignore. The fear of being forgotten, of being replaced, of being left behind. And those fears keep us locked in a cycle of overgiving, overpleasing, and overextending ourselves just to feel seen. But here's the reality. If they forget about you, if they move on to someone else, they were never really invested in you to begin with. If you can be forgotten that easily, then it wasn't love you were holding on to. It was insecurity. That's the thing you've been taught to believe, that love is a battle you need to fight, that if you just fight hard enough, they'll see your worth. But love doesn't work that way. Real love doesn't require you to fight. Real love happens when you're whole on your own, when you don't need anyone else to define your worth. When you stop proving, that's when people start seeing who you really are. When you let go of the fight, you win. We let go of the fight, you win. Yes, this is gonna be hard. I won't sugarcoat it. Your mind will fight you. It will scream. But if I stop, if I don't give anymore, I'll lose them. It will be uncomfortable. The fear of being forgotten will rear its ugly head. But here's the beauty in it. By confronting that fear, you break free. When you step away, you force them to see what they were missing. You allow them the space to miss you, to reflect on what they took for granted. And here's the kicker. You'll never be forgotten by the right people. The people who truly value you will appreciate you even more when you stop chasing, because real value isn't about availability. It's about worth. And when you stop giving away your energy for free, when you start putting yourself first, you raise your value. You become the prize. So say this with me, folks. I control how I respond. I don't need their approval to feel worthy. Write it in the comments. Let it sink in. Show yourself. Show the world. Let it be known that from this moment forward, you're no longer chasing. You're no longer giving your energy to anyone who doesn't appreciate it. And stay with me. This is just the beginning. Once you release the illusion of control, once you stop trying to control their feelings and start mastering your own, something incredible happens. You realize you've been holding all the cards. The fear will fade, the peace will come, and the best part, you'll never have to chase again. Number 2, detachment is strength, not indifference. Detachment is not a lack of caring. It's a powerful act of protecting yourself. Think about it. How many times have you given everything you've got to someone only to feel drained, unappreciated, or worse, ignored? You've been taught that caring means giving, constantly offering your energy, your time, your love, hoping that somehow it'll be enough. But here's the truth, my friends. Detachment is strength, not indifference. When you choose to detach, when you choose to withhold your energy, it doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop overgiving. You stop pouring your soul into someone who's not reciprocating, who's not appreciating the value you bring. Detachment is not about becoming cold or distant. It's about realizing that your energy is precious and that you are worthy of receiving just as much as you give. Let me hit you with a metaphor. Imagine you're in the middle of a tug of war. You're pulling as hard as you can, putting every ounce of energy into the battle. The other side is pulling just as hard, and it feels like you're at a stalemate. But then you let go. No more tugging, no more fighting. And what happens? The other side has nothing left to pull against. They fall flat on their face because you release the tension. That's what detachment does. It releases the tension. It stops the endless struggle. You're no longer feeding into the game. Sure. And when you stop pulling, you stop letting someone else control the pace of the relationship. You stop being the one who's always there, always available, always giving, while the other side sits back and expects more. Now I know what you're thinking, but if I detach, won't they think I don't care? Won't they think I'm giving up on them? That's the fear, right? You think that pulling back, taking a step back, means you're abandoning them, that you're being cold. Or worse, that they'll forget about you. But here's the reality. You're not abandoning anyone. You're preserving your own sanity, your own peace, your own value. Detachment isn't about hurting the other person. It's about protecting yourself. It's about not overextending yourself to the point where you lose who you are in the process. Detachment is a form of self-respect. It's the recognition that you are worthy of balance, of mutual effort, of respect. You cannot be the only one giving and giving without expecting to feel drained, unappreciated, and ultimately invisible. So when you start withholding your energy, you're not abandoning them. You're making space for the right people to step in. You're stopping the cycle of giving until you have nothing left to offer. But I get it. This is not easy. The hardest part is overcoming the fear that you're going to be misunderstood. People will likely think you're being distant, selfish, or even manipulative. Society doesn't like detachment because it forces them to confront their own lack of effort. But you have to realize their opinion doesn't define your value. Detachment is a form of empowerment. It's a statement that you will no longer play the role of the giver, the fixer, the one who sacrifices themselves to please others. It's a declaration that you are worthy of respect, worthy of someone who is willing to meet you halfway. Imagine this: you're sitting at a table with a friend. You've been listening to them talk for hours, giving them your time, your attention, your emotional energy. But they're not listening to you in return. They're not offering you the same respect. Now picture this. You stop talking, you sit back, and you let the silence hang in the air. At first, they might be uncomfortable. They might keep talking, trying to fill the space. But you're still sitting there, silent. They start to wonder, don't they? They start to wonder, why aren't they talking to me? Why aren't they feeding my need for attention? That's when the power shifts. Detachment shifts the power. It makes them realize that your time and energy are valuable and that they can't just take it for granted. They can't keep pulling on the rope without facing the consequences. When you stop playing their game, they'll start wondering why you stopped playing, why you stopped giving, why you stopped being so available. And that's when the game becomes theirs to win or lose, not yours. Now, I know this isn't something that's going to happen overnight. Detaching from someone or something you've invested so much in is hard. It's going to feel like you're losing something, like you're stepping into the unknown. The fear will try to hold you back. You'll think, what if they stop caring? What if they move on without me? But listen to me, if they move on that easily, they weren't really invested in you to begin with. You can't hold on to someone who isn't willing to fight for you. You can't keep giving your energy to someone who doesn't value it. And you sure as hell can't keep pulling on that rope forever. And here's the beautiful thing. When you start detaching, when you stop overgiving, you'll realize just how much space you've been filling with things that drain you. You'll realize how much energy you've been giving away to people who don't deserve it. People who aren't willing to match your effort. And once that space opens up, guess what happens? You start seeing the people who are worthy of your energy. You start attracting the right people, the ones who don't expect you to chase them or to constantly give. You start seeing mutual effort, and that's when relationships thrive. And so here's the shift I want you to make. Detachment is not a lack of love. It's a recognition of self-worth. It's saying, I won't be the only one giving. It's saying, I will not pour from an empty cup anymore. When you detach, you're not breaking the connection. You're actually preserving it. You're saying, I value myself enough to stop being the only one doing the work. I deserve someone who sees me, who appreciates me, who meets me halfway. And now I want you to say this with me. I am worthy of balance. My energy is valuable. Write it in the comments. Let it sink in. Show yourself. Show the world. Let it be known that you're no longer overgiving, no longer overcommitting. You're no longer playing the game of tug-of-war. From now on, you're preserving your energy for people who deserve it. And trust me, my friends, once you start detaching, once you start holding your energy close, you'll feel the shift. You'll see the power of detachment unfold in your life. And what's coming next? The real magic happens when you realize that you're in control of your peace, your value, and your energy. Stay with me. It's about to get even better. Number 3, silence as a weapon. Disappearing to reclaim power. Silence isn't the absence of sound. It's the presence of power. Let that sink in. Silence is not weakness. It's not avoidance. And it's not a lack of care. Silence, my friends, is a weapon. The moment you decide to step back, to pull away from the noise and drama, you're actually wielding more power than any argument, any confrontation, or any emotional outburst ever could. Quietly stepping back can speak louder than any word you could say. Think about this. Picture yourself as a performer on stage. You've been giving it your all, pouring your heart into the performance, hoping the audience will show you their appreciation. They're clapping, they're cheering, feeding off your energy. But then you stop performing. You step back and the applause dies down. The energy in the room shifts and suddenly the audience starts to wonder, why did they stop? Where did they go? Why are they no longer giving us what we want? And that right there, my friends, is the power of silence. The moment you stop performing for someone, the moment you stop giving them the reactions they crave, they start craving it. Silence is power because it denies others the emotional reaction they are desperate for. People feed off your energy, your attention, your responses. When you withhold that, when you choose silence over conflict or explanation, you leave them with nothing to feed off of. And that's when the shift happens. I know what you're thinking, but won't they think I'm upset? Won't they think I'm being distant? Won't they just move on if I stop engaging? That's the fear talking. That's the lie that society tells us, that if we stop giving, if we stop reacting, if we stop showing how much we care, people will walk away. But the truth is, when you stop reacting, you take away their control. You stop letting them dictate the emotional flow of the relationship. And what happens then? They start wondering. They begin to feel unsettled. And suddenly, they are the ones chasing for an answer, for a reaction, for a clue as to what you're thinking. Silence forces them to confront something they weren't prepared for themselves. You're not playing into their game. You're not feeding their need for reassurance or validation. You're simply choosing to stand in your own power, to not give away your energy to someone who hasn't earned it. And let me tell you, they will notice. At first, they might play it cool. They might try to act like they don't care that you've gone silent, that you've pulled away. But deep down, it's eating at them because people crave certainty. They want to know where they stand with you, what you're thinking, how you're feeling. And when you stop giving them that certainty, you become a mystery, a puzzle they feel compelled to solve. So my friends, embrace the power of silence. When you stop giving them your emotional responses, when you choose to hold back, you are reclaiming your energy. You are saying, I will no longer react on demand. I will no longer be your emotional puppet. So say this with me, I reclaim my energy. I control my silence. Write it in the comments, let it sink in. Show yourself. Show the world that you are no longer at their emotional mercy. You are the one who chooses when to engage, when to speak, and when to disappear. And trust me, once you see the power of silence, you'll never go back. Stay with me. This is just the beginning. The real magic happens when you realize that you are the one who holds the power. Number 4, domination through non-reaction. He who is not a slave to his emotions is the master of his fate. Let that hit you for a second. The true power comes not from controlling others, but from controlling yourself, your reactions, your emotions, and how you handle the chaos that life throws at you. Here's the truth: non-reaction is domination. When you refuse to react to the drama, the manipulation, or the emotional bait someone throws your way, you're actually the one in control. And that, my friends, is the ultimate form of power. Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic philosopher, taught us that the only thing we truly control is our own mind and emotions. Everything else is external chaos. But how many times have you let someone else's behavior dictate how you feel? How often have you reacted out of anger, frustration, or insecurity? That's what they want. They want to trigger you to get an emotional reaction, to throw you off your peace. But when you refuse to take the bait, you become unshakable. You dominate the situation. Think about this. Imagine someone throws a punch at you. Your immediate instinct is to either fight back or protect yourself. But what if you do neither? What if instead of reacting, you simply stand still, calm and unmovable? The punch can't land if you don't allow it to. The other person is left swinging at air, desperate for some sort of reaction. But they get nothing. They lose their power. You control the situation. That's what non-reaction does. It leaves the other person with nothing to work with. They can't manipulate you if they can't trigger your emotions. They can't shake you if you refuse to get rattled. And that's true power. Now I know what you're thinking, but if I don't react, won't they think I don't care? Won't they think I'm weak? That's the fear talking. The fear that if you don't engage, if you don't show them that their behavior affects you, you'll lose their respect. You're not showing weakness by not reacting, you're showing strength. When you control your emotions, when you don't let anyone else dictate your mood, you prove that you're beyond their games. You show them that your peace is not for sale. And here's the truth, they won't know what to do. With you, most people are used to playing emotional games. They throw their punches, they stir up drama, they try to get a rise out of you. But when you refuse to play, when you stay calm and composed, they'll start questioning themselves. Why didn't they react? What happened to them? What am I missing? And that right there, that's when you've won. You don't need to say a word. Your silence, your calm, your lack of reaction is the ultimate power move. So my friends, start practicing the art of non-reaction. The next time someone tries to get under your skin, take a deep breath, stay calm, and watch as the power dynamics shift. You don't need to respond to every slight. You don't need to defend yourself against every attack. When you stand firm in your peace, you're the one who is truly in control. Say this with me: I control my emotions. I am unshakable. Write it in the comments. Let it sink in. Show yourself. Show the world that you are no longer a puppet to anyone's emotional games. You are the one who holds the strings. And trust me, once you master non-reaction, everything around you will change. Stay with me. This is just the beginning. The real power comes when you realize that you are the one who controls your fate. The vacuum effect. When you pull away, curiosity rushes in. Absence makes the heart grow fonder. You've heard that before, right? But let me tell you something. It's not just a cliche, it's the truth. When you pull away, when you step back and stop showing up in the way they expect, something shifts. And what shifts? Curiosity. People start wondering where you went, why you stopped, and what you're doing. The moment you create a vacuum, they feel it. And that, my friends, is when the power truly flips in your favor. Here's an analogy for you. Imagine you walk into a room. and there's a beautiful painting hanging on the wall. It's been there for as long as you can remember. You've seen it 1,000 times. It's part of the background, part of the scenery. But then one day the painting is gone. The wall is empty. Suddenly it's the only thing you can focus on, that blank space. It pulls your attention, doesn't it? You start to wonder, where did it go? Why is it missing? Who decided to take it down? That's exactly what happens when you create a vacuum by pulling away. When you're constantly available, always showing up, you become part of the scenery. They see you, but they don't really see you. You become predictable. But the moment you take yourself out of the equation, suddenly they start noticing the absence. They start questioning it. They start missing you. Now I know what you're thinking, but if I pull away, won't they just forget about me? Won't they find someone else who's always there for them? That's the fear talking. The lie that makes us think we have to be constantly present, constantly available, constantly giving in order to stay relevant. But the truth is, they don't miss you when you're always there. They miss you when you're gone. They miss the uncertainty, the mystery, the space you leave behind. Humans are wired to crave what's no longer in reach. It's like when you lose your phone for a few minutes. You don't realize how often you check it until it's out of sight. And when you finally find it again, you realize just how much attention you were giving to it. That's the vacuum effect in action. When you remove yourself from their constant reach, you force them to reevaluate your value, your importance, and your place in their life. They start wondering, why am I not hearing from them? Why aren't they chasing me anymore? What did I lose? Here's the reality. When you pull away, you're not being manipulative. You're not playing a game. You're simply taking back your power. You're showing them that your presence is valuable and that it's not to be taken for granted. When you create a vacuum, you force them to ask themselves, what have I lost? And that question is what leads them to miss you. But here's the hard part. This isn't easy. It's uncomfortable. The fear will rise up, telling you that if you don't show up, if you don't reach out, they'll forget about you, they'll move on, they won't care. But here's the truth. You're not disappearing forever. You're just pulling back for a moment, long enough to create space for them to feel what it's like to not have you around. And when that happens, they start seeing your worth in a way they never did when you were always available. So say this with me. I create my own space. My absence is powerful. Write it in the comments. Let it sink in. Show yourself. Show the world that you're no longer a constant presence in their life. You are the painting on the wall. And when you leave, they'll notice the empty space. Stay with me. This is just the beginning. Once they start missing you, that's when the real shift happens. The vacuum effect is powerful and you'll never look back. Number 6, confronting your fear of being forgotten. The fear of being forgotten is the fear of losing control over your own value. Let that sink in. The moment you feel that pit in your stomach, the moment that thought creeps in, what if they forget about me, is the moment you need to pause and take a step back. Because here's the truth. The fear of being forgotten keeps you in a weak position. It keeps you stuck in the cycle of overgiving, overpleasing, and chasing. But here's a hard pill to swallow. If they forget you when you step away, they were never truly invested in the first place. Let me break it down for you. We've all been there, haven't we? That fear, that deep-rooted anxiety that if we don't keep showing up, if we don't keep proving ourselves, if we don't keep fighting for someone's attention, they'll forget about us. We've been conditioned to believe that love, respect, and connection are things we have to fight for constantly. that we have to keep pushing, keep proving our worth, keep being available at all times to maintain a place in someone's life. But here's the thing, real connections don't dissolve the moment you step back. Think about it like this. Imagine you're holding onto a rope, pulling with all your strength. The other person on the other side is pulling just as hard, and you're both locked in, a battle of strength. But at some point you let go of the rope, you stop fighting. What happens? If they truly cared, if they were truly invested, they'll notice the slack and reach for you. They'll come after the rope. But if they don't, if they just keep pulling, keep moving forward without looking back, that's when you know they were never really holding on to you in the first place. They were only holding on to the idea of you. And here's the lie we've all been fed. If they forget me when I step away, they were never truly invested. That thought, it's the fear talking, the fear of losing control, the fear that if you stop chasing, you'll disappear. But here's the truth. Your value doesn't decrease just because someone fails to see it. When you pull back, when you stop chasing, you're not abandoning them. You're giving them space to realize what they're missing. And if they don't notice, if they don't come after you, that's their loss, not yours. Now I get it. Letting go, stepping away, and allowing that fear to surface is uncomfortable. It feels like you're giving up, like you're risking losing someone who's important to you. But here's what you need to understand. You're not losing anything that was truly yours to begin with. If someone can forget about you so easily, they weren't invested. They were just waiting for you to keep showing up, for you to keep doing the work, for you to keep fighting. But when you stop fighting, when you stop chasing, that's when the real power shift happens. Real connections are mutual. They don't require constant effort from one side. They don't require you to keep proving your worth or fighting for a place in someone's life. If someone values you, they will fight to keep you, even when you step back. If they don't, then you know exactly where you stand. So say this with me. I am not afraid of being forgotten. My worth is unshakable. Write it in the comments. Let it sink in. Show yourself, show the world that you're no longer living in fear of being left behind. You are worthy of true mutual connections, and you won't settle for anything less. Stay with me. This is just the beginning. When you stop fearing abandonment, you'll start realizing how much power you truly have. Number 7, self-validation, the core of Stoic resilience. You don't need anyone's approval to feel complete. You are enough just as you are. Let that settle in for a second. We've all been there. The constant search for approval, the need to be seen, the desire for someone else to tell us we're worthy. But here's the reality check. External validation is nice, but it's not necessary. When you start validating yourself first, when you give yourself the approval you've been desperately seeking from others, something incredible happens. You become unshakable. You no longer need someone else to tell you that you're worthy because you already know it. That's the core of Stoic resilience. Think about it. How often have you found yourself chasing someone's approval? Maybe it's in a relationship, at work, or even with your friends. You find yourself doing extra things, bending over backwards, hoping that this one action will finally make them see you for who you truly are. And what happens? Sometimes you get the validation and sometimes you don't. But no matter what, you're left wondering, am I enough? Here's the thing, you are enough right now. You don't need anyone's validation to make that true. The Stoics understood this at their core. Marcus Aurelius Seneca, Epictetus, they all knew that real strength doesn't come from the world outside of us, it comes from the world inside of us. When you rely on external validation, you give away your power. Imagine this, you're standing in the middle of a storm. The wind is howling, the rain is coming down in sheets, and everything around you is shaking. But you're standing firm, rooted like a tree. The storm can howl all at once, but it can't move you. Why? Because you're anchored in your own strength. That's what self-validation does. It anchors you. It means that no matter what's happening around you, no matter who's saying what, you can stand tall knowing that your worth is not up for debate. Now, I know this isn't easy. We've all been conditioned to look outside ourselves for approval. Society tells us that we need others to validate our existence, to tell us we're good enough, smart enough, attractive enough. But here's the truth. You're already all of those things. You don't need someone else to tell you that. You need to tell yourself. You need to give yourself permission to be proud of who you are. So here's a simple action step for you. Start practicing self-validation every single day. Look in the mirror to say, I am enough just as I am. Say it loud. Say it proud. Write it down. Remind yourself daily that you're worthy, not because of what you do or what someone else thinks of you, but because you are enough as you are right now. And I want you to write this in the comments. I am enough. Let that affirmation sink in. Show yourself that you're not waiting for anyone else's approval to feel worthy. Show the world that your value is not determined by anyone but you. And stay with me. This is just the beginning. When you begin to anchor yourself in self-validation, nothing and no one can ever shake your sense of worth. You will stand strong, unmovable, and unshakable because you know that you are enough just as you are. Number 8, rise above, the final payoff. The greatest power comes from within. When you detach, disappear, and dominate, you are stepping into your transformation, not playing games. This journey isn't about manipulation or mind games. It's about personal growth. When you learn to detach from people who drain you, when you stop chasing validation, you're transforming into the best version of yourself. Every step you take to pull back, to focus on your own growth, is a step toward freedom. So here's the challenge. Practice small acts of detachment in your everyday life. Maybe you don't text first for a week. Maybe you stop giving away your energy to people who aren't giving it back. Maybe you focus more on your own goals and stop waiting for someone else's approval. The final payoff, freedom, true freedom, comes when you realize that you no longer need their acknowledgement to feel whole. You no longer need someone else's validation to know your worth. You've become your own source of power. And there you have it, my friends. The power of detaching, disappearing, and dominating your life. The Stoic Way. It's about reclaiming your energy, standing firm in your worth, and realizing that you are enough without needing validation from anyone else. If this resonated with you, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and share this with anyone who needs to hear this today. Remember, your transformation starts now. Step into your power and embrace the freedom that comes with it. Stay with me because we're just getting started. See you in the next one.